Welcome to Well Played Podcast, a podcast on all things playful and joyous. The Well Played group is made up of educators passionate about making learning immersive and fun. Today we have with me Nick Baskwill. Nick is going to give a brief introduction of himself. So why don't you go take that away, Nick?
Thanks, Michael. Right now I teach a grade 4 or 5 class in Nova Scotia, Canada. This is my 12th year teaching. I've got my Bachelor of Ed and my Master's of Ed in curriculum design through technology. So we try and get a nice few tech items into the class and into the games as we go. I've got 2 little girls at home. One's turning 5 and turning 3, so starting school next year for them. And a couple of big dogs and a few cats kicking around. So hopefully they'll be quiet in the background for us tonight.
Nice. I love it. So, Nick, today Nick and I are going to be jamming out about adding add-ons to your gamified lesson, unit, or course. I'm really excited about this because once you start gamifying, and Nick and I both gamify, so I hope that doesn't scare any of you listeners away, but we really love that there's this like big game running in the background, kind of always present. And once you start to amp up your game, once you get out of that lesson sort of game or even the unit sort of game, you start to realize like, man, there's so much you can kind of add to your game, these little add-ons. So Nick, why don't you share one of the add-ons that you've built into your game?
Well, one of the biggest ones that we've done is we have currency. And so we started off with our game 3-4 years ago getting started. And then as it got rolling, some of the kids said, hey, there are different things that we could do in the classroom. Why don't we make jobs? And so a natural spin-off from the jobs was, well, if you do a job, let's pay you. And so we started to 3D print our currency. And so the kids had a hand in the design of it, and we printed them out, and so we have little silver pieces, so as kids do their jobs, they can get paid for it every week, and other kids who are just working around the room can earn silver in different challenges or things like that, and it lets them buy things from the store, and so it adds to the game, and it really just kind of took off, and it spun off a whole bunch of other things from there. But the currency idea was big for the kids, and they love it, and they like the chance to earn it, to win it, and even to share it back and forth. And so it took on a life of its own and is always evolving. And that's one of the things I love about these add-ons is when they come out, they don't just kind of come out and stick and they're done. They can come out and they can evolve and change as your game evolves and change.
Yeah, I mean that's what I've experienced in my game. Like as you build out your game, you come up with new ideas, your students come up with new ideas, and your game, for lack of a better word, like your game's kind of always in flux a little bit, but I mean that in the most like respectful sort of way to our game and to our processes, that like it can change, and that's okay. And like we talk about that a lot in this community, that like it doesn't have to be just set. Like you
No.
don't have to like map this out and have it all right.
I like thinking of it as being fluid. So if you think of it as a river or a stream, it's always flowing, it's always going somewhere. And if things happen, if rocks get thrown in the way, that you're still able to go around them. It doesn't bring everything to a screeching halt. And so being fluid and flexible means that your game can survive changes and difficulties and successes and still be great and keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I've actually been fortunate enough to see the sort of currency that Nick's talking about. Maybe it's changed over time, but Nick happened to come to USM Spark. Was that last year or 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
2 years ago. Wow. So maybe that currency has changed, but he had these really cool coins that he kind of printed out, and I really loved the sort of mashup of some of your games digital, some of your games tactile, and obviously this currency is a tactile component.
It is, and it's something that allows everybody to get their hands on it. And so we had a few kids who started with a design from a couple of years ago, but now everybody who's in the game knows what it is, knows how to go and get it, and we've even used it within other building challenges. So we did a building challenge where they were using hot glue sticks, hot glue guns, and popsicle sticks, gluing things together, and we put a price on materials. So you start off with your glue stick, but if you wanted more, it's going to cost you 3 silver. And so the kids who had saved up some money were able to go out and buy these extra materials to help in their building challenge, and the other ones just kind of had to make do or to barter with the others to say, listen, I'm getting paid on Friday. Can you float me along until then?
I love it. Did the kids charge a little interest, or were they just good Samaritans?
Uh, there were a couple that were good Samaritans, and then there were the couple that were the hard no. Say, nope, listen, this is my money, and we saved it, so you're out of luck.
Wow,
So
I love it. But I mean, like that's good that the game itself allows that kind of flexibility. And this, for the listeners out there or the new viewers out there, I just want to point out like this is a classic example right here of Nick giving students more choice in the class, more choice within the game. Sometimes in my book and sometimes in gamification realms, we call that agency for the player, right? Like giving them
yeah,
true choice. And sometimes like when you're new to gamification, like when you hear that choice word, you think of like projects, like you can give a speech
yeah.
or you can do like a paper. And like while that is a choice, obviously, what we game designers are talking about is some of like this stuff, this in-game choice, these little level ups.
And things like you talked about agency is that it's going to provide feedback and it's going to provide buy-in. Like these kids are in it, they're motivated. They, like you say, just engagement between the groups as they're working. This little gameplay within the game is a lot of fun for them, and it makes them really strategize and think, okay, what do I need for the next one? So I may have gotten surprised, and I wasn't ready this time, but next time I'm going to have a few coins squirreled away just in case, because I remember he said last time it's 3. Maybe it's going to be the same. Maybe it's not. And so they're always thinking about those kind of things. It's not just a one and done kind of deal.
I love that. I love that, like squirreling away, and when you think about that, like when you play a board game or like a video game, oftentimes you do that. You don't go down to like $0 because
Yeah.
you never know what the game's going to throw at you. So you kind of always have this little cachet to like use if you need it.
The funniest one, I've got one student. So we've got having the money started a new job, which was a bank. And so we have bankers who will look after all the coins for the kids so they don't have to keep it on them. And one kid doesn't trust the bank. And so he's got his all squirreled away with him and he carries it around with him all day because he doesn't trust the bankers. And so he's like, no way, I'm not leaving my money with you. I'm
I love
going to
it.
keep it with me.
I love it. I love kind of the real world nature of that there are just some people that don't trust the bank. And
Right, it's all under the mattress.
it's all under the mattress. I love it. I love it. And I maybe that kind of brings us into another thing. I know it's not quite about add-ons, but true for any add-on you have in the game, any physical token you have. What happens in your game if a kid says, "Hey, I swear I had 5 coins yesterday. I don't have those coins now. My mom washed my pants or whatever." What's your line? What do you say?
Normally we give you the benefit of the doubt the first time. So you come in and something happened to these things. You say, okay, we can deal with that. As long as it's like you said, 5 coins, not 50 coins. But then if it's happening 2 times or 3 times, they say, well, listen, sorry, you've got to go deal with your mom now because that's where that point's going to happen.
That's
But
on you.
the first time we say, okay, understand that, but after that, no, you had your freebie and now you've got to be that responsible kid again here.
So I gotta say, you're all around a nicer human being than me, I guess. I love how the game for me allows. I teach sixth grade for those of you that are new to the show. Um, I teach sixth grade, and I just love that this allows me sort of in an unsort of graded space to give sort of natural consequences. Like, hey,
Yeah,
if this was so important, if you're telling me that this is the most important thing in your world and you're crushed, like then why did you like leave it in your pant pocket? Like why did
yeah.
you leave it in the science room? Like you should have got it. But hey, what I always I mean again I teach 11-year-olds, so what I try to like help them out on is like I'm like just next time you do a quest, and I'm like, are you searching for anything, or you like wanting something, just let me know. Like I can make sure that kind of ends up back in your
Yeah,
stack, but you are gonna have to re-earn it.
that's right. The kids aren't nearly as forgiving, so they've kind of come to the understanding that if you have tokens and you leave them lying around, that it is kind of fair game for the next person to come along and grab them. So if you're careless with your money, careless with whatever tokens you have, then the kids are way more cutthroat about saying, hey, there are a couple silver kicking around on the floor right there. I think I'll pick those up myself. Here I go.
Zoop zoop zoop.
That's it.
I love it. So I'm trying to think of like other add-ons. So you sort of opened it up with currency, meaning sort of the technical definition of currency, but it made me kind of excited to think about like I love currencies. Like I have several of them in my game, and it really works with this topic of add-on. So, an add-on is like something you can collect. Well, no, I shouldn't say an add-on. A currency is something that you can collect over time, and then use that in various ways. So, obviously money is one of them. One of the other ones I have is I started to have these like more powerful items. They were actually quote unquote buildings. They still looked like an item. I mean, they were still like a
Yep.
little card that they got, but the buildings kind of did bigger and cooler things because it's not an item; it's a building. Um, and so then I thought, well, let's invent this other currency, and that's tools. And tools allow you to upgrade. So all of my buildings have
Nice.
kind of a level one, level two, level three. Um, but once you get the level one, if you have tools, you can. That's how you upgrade to level two, level three. But you have to first earn the like first physical building. Like that one can't be built by tools. You have to like earn that one. Then the rest can be upgraded.
Nice. We have um, we have a few things, but we haven't gone with the tools. But I like that idea, and I'm going to take that idea from you tonight. So thank you for that. We've got some weapon and armor upgrades, and so we do boss battles every now and then. And so with the bosses, if you answer a question correctly, you attack the boss. If you're wrong, the boss attacks you. And so if you do a few of these extra quests and challenges, or if you've earned your way with enough silver that you can buy some things from the store, you could buy yourself a new piece of armor or a new helmet, shield, or sword, and that will help you out in those boss battles.
My mind is like super excited. Like I want school to be right now so I can like implement some of that. I love because I have health in my game, so
Yep.
they have like these. I stole it like from Zelda. Like they start with 3 hearts. Throughout the game, they can gain more hearts. In a boss battle like you're describing, their hearts kind of get knocked down. But I could see an easy item like a shield that takes your first hit.
Yeah. And if you want to get the math involved, so we had one today, and the girl had a suit of armor that deflected 40% of the damage. And so now you've got to figure out, okay, well, what's 40% of 30? And then they've got to do a little bit of math as we're going through this stuff too. So, it's that add-on, but it's that curricular outcome too. So it's nice that those things can fit in together.
That's nice. Yeah, it's real nice. So you can kind of see, those that are listening to this, that like this becomes way more feature rich when we start to have these add-ons, right? And
Yep.
again, embedded in all of that is agency. We're giving our kids more choice. Like Nick talked about, like, do I want to like upgrade my helmet, my shield, my just general plated armor? And I'm sure in his game, all of those have either different percentages or maybe a different additional bonus that goes with it. That they get to do something else with the hat versus the armor. Um,
They they do, and it gives those kids who are really interested that choice to come in and do it. So today I had two kids in at lunchtime who were doing a side quest, and they go with this boss battle side quest, and if they're victorious, they come out with a fire tiger, and so it's an animal companion who will help them out in the game. So it kind of like equipment, but it will help protect them in the next battle, kind of thing. So, but these girls gave up their lunchtime because they were really into it, and they wanted this challenge, and they wanted to come out and win this thing.
I love it. This is awesome. Um, so you kind of just right there brought up kind of another add-on, and one of my favorites. We've had this topic before. We will have this topic a million more times because it is my favorite, and that is just items in general, like that they can earn these sort of items. Uh, and my students love the items, and I just love the items because there are so many you can create. I mean, like, it is endless. But at the same time, I do remember being you who are just not you, Nick, but like you, the listener, who's just starting out. And I like made a Google Doc and I made like a list of like 10 items I could think of. And like my head had hit the wall. I couldn't think of anything else. It was like bathroom pass, late homework pass, a little extra XP on a particular, assignment. But then I was like, oh man, I don't know what else to do. But
Yeah.
like once you start the game, right, Nick? Like I don't know, like the connections start to grow. You add a new piece, like you said, boss battles. Once you add some sort of activity,
One
boom,
of the most
10
oh
more
yeah,
items can go on that.
Wh- one of the most interesting things is after you know the looking back. So as I look back at that first year of gamification and what my cards looked like, what my abilities and add-ons looked like then, and the evolution of them. So my first power cards had the same picture on the front for every single card, and on the back it just had a write up of what it was. And I think, like you said, I had about 15 to start. And for that first year, there were 15. Now I think we're at 60 or 70
Isn't that
different
awesome? I mean,
cards.
like, I don't know how one cannot be listening to this right
Oh,
now and just be like, as a kid, like, now picture being a kid. And by
yeah,
kid, again, I don't even care if you're talking about like 12th grader. Like, you're still talking about like 60 to 70 choices that I get to personalize my experience in your class.
definitely. Yep. And some of them come in the natural course of the game, and other ones you get to choose and say, "Yep, I want this extra thing, and I'm going for it today." And you really get the buy-in because all those things are again tied to curriculum, which makes everybody happy, which is really nice. And the kids are all for it. You've got kids rushing up to get into this room and spend their lunchtime showing you what they know, so that they can get this extra little piece for the game.
That is nice when like the game. I mean, it's a win-win, right? I mean, like you're hitting the kind of the curricular goals you want, but at the same time, you're also hitting sort of the lifestyle goal you want for your students and yourself. You want to have fun
Yeah,
when you do it.
definitely. And you can see that in the kids. Like they are excited, they're nervous, and they're just all over the place, and it's great. And they talk about it. They're laughing while they're doing it. Um, win, lose, or draw, they're having a great time, which brings them back. It
Hmm.
makes them want to come to your classroom. You know, I doubt that you have very much attendance troubles with your kids in your class because they want to be there. You've got cool things going on.
Yeah,
And same with me, like kids want to come to school every day, and that's awesome.
kids are definitely bummed out when they miss. Like I've had several times where kids have Skyped in or FaceTimed into class. Uh, like when they're either sick or when they're on vacation, and it's like, wow, but I'm gonna be at my grandma's house and it'll work. I can totally Skype it. And I always give them a hard time. I'm like, are you Skyping into any of your other classes? If you can make it to mine, you should be able to make it to others. But I mean, again, it just speaks to that like drive and excitement. They want to be part of that experience,
Yeah,
and part of that experience is the game, right? Like curricular wise, like our classes aren't that different. Game wise is where
that's right.
the difference lies.
Yeah,
And even excited if you happen to be at a school where multiple teachers gamify, even within those games, they're different, right? Like
yeah,
so,
definitely.
even that's exciting.
Oh yeah, like you can't have one game that's going to work for everybody because you as the teacher, the game master, are going to facilitate it differently, and so you don't have to worry that my game doesn't look like your game or that the flow is a little bit different here or there. Yours works for your kids, mine works for my kids, and that's perfect. And off we go.
Yeah, agreed. So, back to this like notion of add-ons. We got some currency, like the traditional currency. We got some different currencies, like I gave the example of the tools that you can kind of collect and then spend to upgrade your buildings.
Yeah,
Uh, and we sort of started to talk a little bit about items as sort of another add-on, but I mean, we can circle back to the items. But one of the things I really wanted to sort of connect the dots a little bit for the listener is one of the reasons Nick and I chose the topic add-ons is because it does just that. It is like it sort of floats above your game, and but it's what really brings the entire thing to life.
Yeah,
Uh,
and you can kind of think of it as like a cable or satellite subscription. You start off with your base package, and then from there you add on your specialty channels and the things you're really interested in, and now you've got your whole lineup of everything that you're looking for. And your game can kind of evolve that way too. When you start your game, you've got your main platform, your main ideas. But then as you start saying, oh well, this is really neat and this is really neat, and then you start adding on those other little pieces, now you fully develop your idea and what you're looking for.
I like that. So sort of like our normal school, our normal content, our normal class. That's like the over-the-air television. There's a lot of good in there.
Yep.
I mean, there's lots of people that cut cable. In fact, I have cut cable long time ago. But then you're like, well, what am I going to add back in? So like, you get the Netflix subscription, you get the, you know, different cable packages if you happen to be going cable. I like that. So that's like what these add-ons do to our game. And if you're sitting there thinking, I'm just starting out gamifying, I'm not quite there yet, you know, still listen through this because you will get there. Like
Definitely.
it's
Yep.
and it's not long. I mean, even Nick started his first year with, like you said, 15 items.
Yeah.
I think that first year right out of the gate, you started too with the currency, right?
We did. Yeah.
So I
And
mean,
and we didn't do nearly as much as we did now. The currency can get you a lot more things now and can do different things, but we did start off that first year with it.
well, of
Um,
course, you went from 15 items to 60, 70. Of course,
yeah,
currency is going to play a larger role.
yeah, definitely. And with summertime kind of around the corner, that's a great time to start thinking about what you're going to do. I did the biggest chunk of my items over the summer, and I hit a roll of about three nights in a row, and I
Just
was just
boom.
loving it and just kicking through it. We started at 8 at night, and all of a sudden I was like, wow, it's midnight. How did that happen? But I tore through a whole bunch of new items, new cards, and I had a great time writing up descriptions for everything. So, you can get on that roll, you can get in that flow, and all of a sudden your creativity is just flying, and you've got tons of ideas.
I love it. Yeah, it's amazing, like how much you can get done in a short period of time. But the thing is, it's hard to dedicate that in the like normal flow of the school year. So summer's a great one, vacation's a great one, and if you can spare it, like a back-to-back sort of either like night and then like your prep period the next day, or like you know 2 nights in a row or whatever, because just a couple hours of intentionality and your game will easily have these kind of add-ons.
Definitely. Yep, absolutely. And you don't need to be a master at any kind of major technology to make these things work. Um, a little Google Docs and a little Google Drawings goes a long way, and grabbing
Sure
some
does.
some great artwork. I know you love DeviantArt as a place to go for some images. Yeah, so I love looking through Google Images and just finding things for my theme and seeing how they fit. There's beautiful artwork out there.
Yeah, those two are just great sites to check out for like game related art. And on DeviantArt, I mean, there's wide breadth of art on DeviantArt, but if you sort of like search for like specific things like medieval castles or whatever, you start to get these like threads of like game artists that like then once you get one of those, you start to look into their portfolio, and their portfolio starts to link you to like another portfolio, and you can all of a sudden get all sorts of art for your items, for your badges, whatnot. And it's a wonderful community of artists that if you contact them too, 100% of the ones I've asked have said no problem, use it.
Yep, same. And sometimes they're curious about what you're doing, and you get to talk to them about it as well. And so that's always a good conversation.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's good people out there.
Yeah.
Um, so another kind of add-on that I wanted to say, well, sorry, before we go to that add-on, I'm sure somebody else thought this question. I meant to ask you it earlier. In your game, is there another way to earn currency other than have a job?
Yes. If you are doing your thing, you're doing your work when it's time. Um, there are people called the King's Guard who can reward workers in the class, and so they can either give them like a health token or a mana token, or they can give them this silver, or I can just kind of walk around and drop it to the kids who are working, because we don't want to limit anybody within the game from getting those things, and I don't have enough jobs to facilitate 26 kids, so they can still earn their currency without the job.
All right, that's cool. I just knew that would be somebody's question out there.
Yeah.
All right, so the other thing I wanted to just say about add-on is there one that like you think someone should start with? I mean, if they truly have nothing, if they just are starting a game from scratch and they maybe have a theme, what's an add-on that you'd kind of start with that you think just makes sense either for the beginner gamifier or their students?
Um, I think anything related to the look of your character. And so, if you talk about being able to have a different kind of clothing or different kind of armor or things like that that can separate your character from another one, that's a pretty easy way to go. Because no matter what theme you're going to choose, I think that you can find a clothing or equipment add-on to do something for your player in the game.
I like it. I mean, it's a good tip. Um, I think for me, oh man, that's like hard. I want to say items because I absolutely love items,
Yeah.
but I don't know if that's the necessarily like first place to start. You could actually have a whole year-long game without items. So um, I think some sort of currency though. I think maybe this is my own gamer personality. I like that idea of collecting something and then
Mm-hmm.
at the same point deciding when to spend that. Whether it's tools like the way I described them, like ooh, is it worth building that building, or like do I
Yeah.
want to save up to get the bigger building, or like just the standard gold is kind of still an interesting premise.
I like your point about the player needing to decide, is this worth it? Not everything is the same price. You have to really say, okay, yes, I'm going for this one, or I'm going to play my cards differently. But they do have to have a strategy to it as they go into the game, and I think that's an important piece. And I like that idea that not everything is the same, and so that you do need to figure out, okay, can I stretch my money? Is this something I can team up with somebody for a
Hmm.
common goal, or is it something that I'm on my own and I'm going to do it this way?
Yeah, I mean it's just I don't know, it's fun. I like some board games that do that too. Some of my favorite board games, like when you spend the money, like the money is the points at the end of the game. So it's like every time you buy something in the game to help you out, you are literally like going down in your score, and it's like,
Yeah.
but like if you don't buy enough stuff, then you're in the end not going to score enough points. So it's like this like cost benefit analysis the whole time, and I just love that tension that can come from that. So that would be my suggestion. Go with some sort of currency, gold or otherwise. Uh, I can't believe it though. We are like at reflection time. We're
That was fast.
I
That
know,
was
right?
fast.
It's just boom. Uh, so tonight we have a quote. It's kind of an interesting one given what we're talking about here. So I'll read it to you, Nick, and however it hits you, just just answer it. If you want a minute to think about it, I'd be happy to answer it first, but you just let me know. You ready?
Ready.
Thought is the only power which can produce tangible riches. How does that strike you?
Tell me one more time. Let me hear one more.
Thought is the only power which can produce tangible riches.
I like it. When you look at what we talked about with the add-ons and the currency and the agency, you've got students who are making deliberate choices. You've got these kids who are really mindful of what it is that they're doing and planning for, and it's through that thought and through that planning that they're either going to come up with something that's going to be helpful for them, or through poor planning, and they're going to find themselves without it. And um, so I kind of like it that way. What about you? What are you thinking with that?
Well, I like it. kind of like in relation to tonight's talk, right? We're talking about all sorts of like giving kids the tools, the armor, the gold, the silver. Um, I think sometimes the outside perspective of gamification can be like it's all extrinsic rewards and nothing internal. And I think that that's such a like brief look at gamification. That's clearly like somebody had to write a report about gamification. They like interviewed one person, they looked at it and they said, "Wow, it's a lot of extrinsic rewards." I love this quote because it's talking about that thought is the only power that produces tangible riches. I think that sort of encapsulates the gamified classroom in that what we're asking everyone to do is go on some like usually like challenge, some sort of growth, some sort of moment where they had to like apply real deal like thought. And yes, in our game it produces some in-game rewards that hold no outside value. So I guess I say it's not the same as like producing. It's not the same as just extrinsic rewards. It is the same intrinsic value as the football player scoring a touchdown. Like that's
Right.
not extrinsic reward that he scored 7 points or like that's just the game, and he's doing it for the love of the game, for the teamwork, for the camaraderie, for the challenge, for the physical challenge. And a lot of our gamified games in our classroom are about thought. And yes, that produces some in-game rewards, but that's a far cry from being just straight extrinsic.
Yeah, definitely. I think that if you have that quick flyby, that you're right, that people can't get caught up in badges and points and things like that without really realizing what those things mean to the kids and how they take them and how they really see themselves in the game as their character, and wanting to do well and wanting to show what they know, what they can do. And that's a big piece of any game, showing what you can do, getting out there and making it work, making it happen.
Agreed. Well, Nick, thank you so much for joining us. Nick's Twitter handle is at Mr. Baskwill. That's MrBaskWill. Give this guy a follow. He's been part of my PLN for a great long time, and I'm super excited to have him on Well Played this week.
I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks, Michael. I love it, and I love talking about the gamification and my growth in it and all the things I've learned from you, and it's been a blast. So I'm honored to be here tonight.
It goes fast, though, man. Like, poof.
It does.
It does, right? Well, everybody, thanks for joining us. It's been super fun. Don't forget to check out explorelikeapirate.com for all sorts of other vlogs, blogs, podcasts. Also, subscribe to my new YouTube channel, youtube.com/mrmatera. That has all sorts of cool stuff there. Also, kind of like a little like, if anybody wants to be crazy and join me in this, next week, which I guess I should give the date to that. When's Monday next week? Oh, I'm a terrible human being. I should have had this ready.
The
Sorry, people.
20, 23rd.
23rd. So on April 23rd, 2018, going to Friday the 27th, I'm going to do my second 5 for 5 challenge. So that is, you choose what you want to do. Cook 5 new meals, write 5 blog posts, go for 5 days worth of exercise, whatever. But you're going to try to do five days in a row of that like micro goal. I'm gonna choose something and do it, but I'll probably vlog about it on my YouTube channel, whatever my 5 for 5 is that week. If you want to be a part of that, just do the hashtag 545. That's, you spell out the word 5, then you write the number 4, spell out the word 5. Include me in that. Put at Mr. Matera. I'd love to have others of you join the 5 for 5 challenge starting next week, the 23rd. As always, thanks for listening. It's an honor having you listen, learn, and play with us each week. Enjoy. Take care.